It's his team, not yours. Sorry, but that's the truth in terms of it's Bob Nutting's team. Robert Nutting is the owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates, like it or not. Not you, the fans. Sorry. This is a Pirates edition, a Pittsburgh Pirates off-season, in the coffin, in the graveyard, new era coming after Clint Hurdle has been fired and kind of trying to make my way through the weeds that is already this offseason edition of Mic Drop here on Pittsburgh Sports Live. I am your host, Mike Asti, and coming at you from up above Market Square here in downtown Pittsburgh, it's the Pittsburgh Sports Live studios, and it's Mic Drop, and it's Pirates Talk. And it's Pirates Talk because we do have, as much as we promote Pittsburgh Sports Now, Pittsburgh Hockey Now, SteelersNow.com, as we're full-fledged into season of that coverage. And I'm there, credentialed with the rest of them. Some news has happened for the Pirates, and even though we're not full-fledged promoting this site and it's not full-fledged out there, Kovacan put it out there a little bit. He had some thoughts he wanted to get out there, so it got out there. Pirates Talk Now is a site we have. Not as much to cover. The money is not to be made there right now, unfortunately. I'll be honest with you guys. That's part of why I've dipped into some Pirate shows this year when the news fits, but it's mostly been about covering what makes the money, what generates the interest, what creates the buzz for us here in the Now Network, Pittsburgh Sports Live, the channel that I run. That's not been Pirate Talk. Sorry, that's just how it is. So that's not been the focus, and it's not going to probably be the focus until maybe next season, or we'll see what happens here in the offseason. Certainly a new manager hire may get us moving over there. But we're also all focused on other things. But this still required at least this one show to do here in the offseason as the dust settles on Clint Hurdle's firing, because as I showed you, Clint Hurdle is gone. We're already looking at the odds and what's going on for who will be the next Pirates manager. Jeff Bannister has been brought up, I think, with the Pittsburgh connection, the Pirate connection, and the fact that he'd have some semblance of success as his experience as a major league manager with Texas, that probably would be the guy I would hire. It's better than some other choices that have been thrown out there or some other guys they're never going to get. Regardless, Clint Hurdle is gone. And as much as Clint Hurdle will always be remembered for, and he should be, for resurrecting the Pirates from nothing and from mediocrity, if not worse than mediocrity, in the 20-plus years of being under 500 in that pro sports record. And my lifetime, and in the past 30 years, has been 3 postseason appearances. And those are thanks to Clint Hurdle. So since 92 till now, it's been, so there was obviously those early 90s periods that I don't really remember, but from 92 to now, it's been those 3 playoff appearances thanks to Clint Hurdle. So Clint Hurdle is going to be remembered as the guy that presided over the most successful period in Pittsburgh Pirates history of the last 3 decades, or at least since 92 for sure. You can argue the Bonds Bonilla time, but, you know, that was different playoff alignment. You didn't have to do as much to get further, and they didn't make the World Series then either. Just one playoff. They didn't win a playoff series there either, by the way. There was no wild card round. There wasn't a division round then. And I get all of that. And he deserves credit for all of that. But this team has been the definition of insanity. You keep doing the same thing and nothing changes, and you think it's going to be right, and it's not. And they haven't been winning, and there's been different issues, whether it be the pitching staff, the offense. And I know he can only manage the team that's there, and he's not responsible for moves and trades and players to give up on and players they don't want to pay, etc. And we get that Garrett Cole is vying for a Cy Award and maybe going to pitch in a World Series with the Astros and had the best year of his career by far after getting away from the Pirates in terms of 300-plus strikeouts. And he's having a Verlander season vying for the Cy Award over Verlander when Verlander's a future Hall of Famer who's won the award. So that wasn't happening with Garrett Cole in Pittsburgh and here. Granted, he's still not the ace there, but that's a stellar staff, and he's individually pitching really, really well. And there's other examples like that. But the point of it also is that if somebody just had to go, 9 years, the 3 playoff appearances, but a lot of disappointment as well recently, and a lot of losing as well recently. This year was horrible, no matter how you slice it, no matter what you expected. It was bad this year. So you couldn't keep him. He had to go. It was time. I think he even knew that. He's probably okay with it and content with that. He has managed a team in the World Series. That was with Colorado, not Pittsburgh, though. So he goes, and who knows his future. He'll probably manage again. Who knows where. And whether it be Jeff Bannister or whoever, the Pirates will have somebody else, and it'll probably be the same. Wash, rinse, and repeat. They won't win next year. Maybe they'll build it up again. If they do, it'll be a couple years. They probably won't go far in the playoffs. Then they'll be tearing it all down again. Wash, rinse, and repeat, regardless of who's the manager. That's the cycle. Okay? And maybe your fondest memories, like I saw on Twitter all day today, as the playoffs begin, we wrap up a wild card round, we get towards the division round. Pirate fans remember what it was like in 2013. Johnny Cueto dropping the ball, the energy around that stadium, around that fan base that was so hungry. And yes, they don't go to games anymore once they started losing, but they were there then, at least. It showed there was hunger amongst the Pirate fans, even with all those losing. Maybe that's why they didn't go. And I'm not to say here the Pirate fans are the greatest. There's definitely faults there. They're not going to games now. They haven't been in the last couple of years. The attendance is bad. But that year, that game, what a moment. One of the best atmospheres in baseball history, one of the best moments in baseball history, certainly recently, for what that meant to the city. And that was presided over thanks to Clint Hurdle. And he's the scapegoat. He ends up being a scapegoat by being gone, but he had to go. And yes, you'd rather maybe have it be the GM too because of some moves and guys that are having great seasons elsewhere. And McCutchen had to go. He wasn't, it made sense then. He was no longer the elite player he was. If he was still, he would have wanted too much money. That was okay, but he was having a great year before getting hurt. We see what's happening down there in Tampa. They're making the playoffs with the lowest payroll in the league with Austin Meadows and Glasnow. Those two guys were given up on in Pittsburgh. They were thrown in trades. They were young. They weren't making tons of money. And they were awarded to Tampa, basically. And Tampa uses them to make the postseason. Glasnow, not an amazing year by any means, but good, when healthy, when they're contributing. And Austin Meadows, 33 home runs, a 290-plus batting average. Yes, it could be better, but he finally reached even close to his hype, and it was certainly a great season for him. That was the best. If you do that for Tampa, they're basically paying nothing for an all-star level slugger that is giving you bopping ability that you're seeing from Josh Bell with the Pirates. Imagine if they were together. Okay, almost just giving up on for nothing in another small market with no payroll, and you see what Austin Meadows is doing. 290-plus batting average, 33 homers. It's not just the homers. He's also doing it average-wise and overall and on base. A great year from Austin Meadows. Former Pirate. Can annoy you. Maybe the GM should have went as well. Okay? But regardless of who goes between Clint Hurdle, the manager, between the GM, if he would ever leave, regardless of what happens, and I get that Tampa Bay gets in, Oakland gets in, there's small markets getting in, Milwaukee was a playoff team. I get it. I get that annoys you when small market teams get in. And yes, it's very, very true that, yes, it's harder for a small market team to win. It's harder even for those small market teams that do win, that have been in the playoffs, okay? It's harder for Tampa to win than, say, the Yankees, who, if they miss on a player, it's no big deal because they have tons of money. Okay? If they miss on a player, they can buy somebody else. Or they have an all-star roster already. So when Stanton gets hurt, that's okay because Judge will make up for it. Nobody else has both of them, generally. Same thing with the Dodgers, etc. And even other bigger markets who spend more. It's easier when you have a bigger market and you generate more TV money, when you generate Dodger-like TV money in comparison to AT&T Sportsnet and what that provides Pittsburgh. Chump change in comparison. I get that it's easier and it's unfair in terms of the payroll for the big market versus the small market. But not only do you have Tampa, Oakland, Milwaukee, these smaller markets making it this year, you have back-to-back pennants and back-to-back World Series appearances recently by the Kansas City Royals. Yost, who just retired and left the Royals, he was able to win a ring. They won a championship, went to 2 World Series. Milwaukee getting into an NLCS. The Rays did go to the World Series and win a pennant back in 2008. The Marlins winning 2 World Series the last 15, 20 years, even though they did spend a little bit more of that 97 one, but not in 2003. The expansion teams winning in 2001 with the Diamondbacks, even though they spent some. But again, the Royals back-to-back pennants, that's the team really. St. Louis, all the championships, all the pennants. They're spending more than those. They have a bigger market than those, but they're not spending Yankee-like money. And all the big markets that have failed, I get it too. Because that's not a guarantee. Look at Baltimore, guarantee that you're going to win with what they spend. Spending isn't a guarantee that you win. But it does make it easier. It's an unfair system. It does make it easier. when you spend money? Sure. And I get the fan being upset that it's unfair. But there also are small market teams that once you get close, there's the anomaly of the Rays. That won't happen all the time. They had players awarded to them for nothing. The Pirates doing it for them, and Austin Meadows, who guided them to the playoffs. Without him, they wouldn't be there. Without the Pirates, they wouldn't have been a playoff team. They should thank the Pirates, actually. And I get the fact that that annoys you. But once you get to a point that you think you're going to win, once you're on the precipice, okay? Like that term? That's a vocab term for you on a broadcast there. Once you're on the precipice of winning in baseball, especially as a small market, okay, then it makes it even more necessary to spend a little bit, to increase that payroll a little bit. The Royals were getting close for a couple years, so they spent a little bit. They brought in James Fields, etc. They were willing to overpay for a guy like Shields that I think is overrated back then. But still, they spent a little bit more to have him there and other players. They added a little bit by spending. The Milwaukee Brewers, way back, they brought in CeCe Sabathia as a rental. They spent a little bit more. They're willing to take that on, even recently as well, even though some guys are homegrown. Yelich, for example, doing it there. And I'm not saying they're spending tons of money, but even the Rays got creative, even though that's an anomaly again. The A's usually have to get creative. But every now and then, and again, the Royals are that example, where once you start getting good, even though you're a smaller market and you don't want to spend tons, you're never going to spend the level of the Yankees and Dodgers. Everybody knows that, the Red Sox. But you can up the payroll just a little bit to get to, the top 20 teams, top 15 teams, rather than the last 5 or last 3 or 5. And then take a little bit of a risk, spend a little bit more. Because then that's your window. Would you rather have the Marlins the last 25 years with 2 rings and then no playoff appearances, or the Pirates with only 3 playoff appearances, or only 1 more, nothing close to a ring, no pennant, and then the rest of the year is missing the playoffs too with a lot of bad seasons, like Florida, like Miami. So you got to cash in when it's there. The Royals cashed in, won 2 pennants. They cashed in, they spent a little bit more when they could, when they're knocking at the door. The Pirates have stood pat when they realized they're knocking at the door. They added some pieces, but they didn't spend to do it. And I'm not, again, asking them on any big-name star. Of course not. But sometimes you got to spend a little bit more finally when you're finally at the door. But that's not going to happen, guys, and everybody knows that. Because Bob Nutting doesn't want it to happen. Because he is the owner who just wants to make money, and he is making money off this team. Whether you go to games or not, and that'll hurt him, no matter whether they win or not. He's making money off the team. He makes money every year. He's made money every year, no matter what's going on the field. Okay, Bob Nutting's making money. Don't be fooled. He's making money. And he knows that. It's a business for him. It's a business more than it's winning. And as much as I've seen from colleagues, and I didn't throw his tweet up there because this isn't an attack piece. It's just my opinion based on the commentary going on around the Pirates news and around the offseason here in Pittsburgh media. But around colleagues, around veteran colleagues, around many fans out there that are eating it up like a spoon based on it being what you want to hear and it being really wishful thinking, if anything else. Bob Nutting's not going to sell the team because you want him to. He's never been going to sell the team. He's never going to sell the team. The only way you ever get Bob Nutting out of there is if you have some Donald Sterling-like tape. Some racism that you find, some bad thing you find, some crime you find out about his past. Maybe then. But even Mark Cuban, who many of you want to buy the Pirates, the Dallas Mavericks owner who built them from nothing to an NBA champion in the NBA, spoke out against Donald Sterling being ousted that way because it was freedom of speech, and that's pretty risky, a slippery slope. Not going to get into my thoughts there. It had to happen. Donald Sterling was a piece of you-know-what. He was a piece of crap. He was a racist. He's gone. Okay. No one's crying for him. But unless there's something like that for Bob Nutting, he's not going anywhere either. You're not going to force him to sell. He's making money. He's towing the company line. He's okay with the other owners. He's helping some teams, actually, Tampa included. They like him down there. He's been a good owner. He's been a model citizen overall as an owner. And it's a business to him. He's making money. So you're not going to convince the mayor or convince anybody in city council or anybody, any fan out there is not going to picket. No protest is going to convince Bob Nutting to not make the money he's been making and to sell the team. It won't happen. It just won't happen. Okay? Know that. No matter how much you may want it. So Yes, maybe something like that occurred in Milwaukee. This is a different city. This is a different man. He's stubborn as all hell. And he's making money. He's making money. Unless you have some dirt, he's not going anywhere. He's not going to sell this team, okay? You can't force him to do so. It just won't happen. And it's going to be wash, rinse, and repeat with the same Pirate issues, regardless of who's the next manager. Regardless of who takes over for Hurdle, who had to go, but regardless of what happens. Jeff Bannister, whoever else. Regardless. It won't matter, okay? It won't matter. It'll be the same thing. I'm agreeing with you that he's not spending enough money. I'm agreeing with you that he needs to spend more money at times. I'm agreeing with you that the world's example is horrible and it sucks these small markets are in now because the small market, yes, you're at a disadvantage, but it's not just an excuse by itself. And you could do more when you're knocking at the door, and you got to seize the day right then. You got to carpe diem that shit. But this whole thing of forcing him to sell or getting the mayor involved, it's not going to happen, Mr. Peduto. It won't happen, Bill Peduto. Worry about the parking you're taking away from me outside the studio. Okay, worry about the bike lanes. It's not going to happen. You're not going to force him out. It just won't. You can't legally do it unless you find some dirt. The other owners won't force it. They never will turn on an owner like that. That'll set a horrible precedent. And it's his team, not yours. Sorry. Sorry, Pirate fans. It's Mr. Bob Nutting's team, not yours. Even as much as I agree that he doesn't want to win. And it's a business first, and he's hurting this team in a way, hurting the franchise. You can't force him out. It's his team, not yours. Sorry. It's his team, not yours. It's his team, not yours. Just singing a song about it. His team, not yours. His team, not yours. It is Mr. Bob Nutting's team, not yours. And you can't force him to sell it. Sorry. Hit up Pirates Talk Now. Hit up PiratesTalkNow.com. Again, we don't heavily promote it. Pittsburgh Sports Now is where to go for Pitt and college and high school, all through the WPIL. Pittsburgh Soccer Now, obviously Riverhounds in high school. Pittsburgh Hockey Now with the Penguins starting up a new season. SteelersNow.com, covering the Steelers. Game day coverage, news, notes, analysis there. Pittsburgh Sports Live. Go to the channel here, subscribe, make it easier for us to get the content to you. Make it easier on me, make me look good in what I'm doing here amongst the family of networks. But Pirates Talk Now exists. PiratesTalkNow.com exists, and even Vacovacam threw one out there. It's time for the Pirates to stop being a joke, and it starts with nutting. Spend nutting, get nutting. Love the t-shirt, love the headline. I even like the article, and I feel Vacovacam's pain, okay? But unlike some colleagues, unlike some fan fodder, it's his team, not yours. You can't force Bob Nutting to sell it. He's not going to sell it. He's making money doing it his way, which sucks as a fan, sucks for the team, but it's just the truth, and it's just the fact, and it's just the way it is. It's just reality. Worrying about the owner and saying the owner has to go, yeah, he does, but will he go? Or saying he's going to go, thinking that's a possibility, it's just not reality. And it's just simple. It's his team, not yours.